The Little Things is directed by John Lee Hancock and stars Denzel Washington, Rami Malek, and Jared Leto. And it tells the story of a deputy sheriff named Joe Deacon who is sent to LA to gather evidence on a case, but quickly becomes embroiled in a search to find a serial killer who is terrorizing the city. So this one took me a little bit of time to decide how I really felt about it, because on the surface this movie comes across quite average. It starts really strong. Like the first 20 minutes of this film, I was definitely getting that Seven vibe from it. As it moved along and Jared Leto's character was introduced, I started to get some True Detective vibes from it. And as we got to that ending, I honestly, while it was ambitious, I honestly could not, it took me a minute to decide whether I hated that ending or liked it. So let's break it down. And I'll start by saying, of course, this movie has three of the best actors working out there in it. So I didn't expect that to be an issue at all with this film. That said, Denzel Washington's natural, he always has this very commanding presence about him when he's on screen. And that's a bit lacking here. Now, of course, the character he's playing, there's a reason that's lacking here. But I missed it because the overall vibe of this movie is definitely a kind of a hopeless feel to it, Rami Malek is on the other end of the spectrum here, where his character, he's the one who's fresh out the bag, so to speak. He's the one who is wide-eyed and ready to go and really wants to get this guy. And he is basically, we're seeing this from both sides. We're seeing the burnt out cop with Denzel Washington, and I mean Denzel Washington plays these types of characters really well, because if you think of The Equalizer, it's something like that, the vibe he's giving off here. And you have Rami Malek's character, who is the fresh on the job new, I think he is an FBI agent, I can't really remember, or detective, whatever, in this. And they come together, they work together to take down this serial killer that has been very ritualistically killing women all across the LA. So like I said, guys, the movie does it has this really good look to it. I did like visually that the film does have this, that same bleakness that Seven had to it. It suit the story, it suit what was going on. Once Jared Leto's character is introduced, you do get that extra bit of menace. Leto does his whole method thing here, and it works for this character. I would say, honestly, of these three, Leto is the one that shines a little bit brighter. It might be a weird thing to say considering what this movie is about, but he's the one that stood out for me in the sense that I really did not have a clue as to whether this guy was a bad guy or not. He does creepy really well, but there's also that smart there. I like that the character is definitely smart. He does feel menacing, but then you don't know if he's playing a game with these cops, and the whole thing leaves you very uncertain. And this is where the problem lies, because the way this movie builds it, you feel like you're watching a straightforward thriller, and there's nothing wrong with that. Everybody likes a good mystery now and again. The problem is what happens as it goes along into the final act, because they do the normal thriller stuff. They throw in a red herring of who the killer might be. And for everybody who's seen this movie, I mean, I think we all thought the killer may have been a certain person. I wouldn't get into it, but not the Jared Leto character. I was thinking it was somebody else, but doesn't quite work. Either way, it does keep you invested. It does manage to keep you interested. I'll give that to John Lee Hancock. I was really banking on seeing how they figured out, how they got the evidence to catch this guy. And then we got that final act. And something happens there. It turns everything that comes before on its head. And this movie is no longer just a thriller, but it becomes this drama and this whole message about cops who put their emotions ahead of doing things properly and following the evidence, how easy it is to get wrapped up in your own passions. And you know, this happens in real life. We've seen this in documentaries before. You've seen cops that get so focused and they put blinders on and they like, this is the guy, this has to be the guy, this fits, and they sacrifice everything else that is going on around them to the detriment of the case. This is what this movie focuses on in the final act, and that would not have been a bad thing if we got some of that in the first 2-3 acts. I mean, come on, it's frustrating, honestly. It feels like you're reading a book that you went into not realizing the book would have a completely different person writing the ending. It feels like they shot for the moon and hit a mountain on the way up. It just does. It feels disjointed, is jarring. The ending of this movie is very jarring, and it does affect the way I think you'd feel about everything that comes before. That said, I kind of dig it on one level. I get what the director was trying to do. I get that he wasn't going for the whole straightforward thriller, and he was trying to get a message across about the way some cops handle these types of cases. But the problem lies in the fact that you just had me sit through what I thought was a Seven-esque thriller, and then you tried to preach to me in the end, and that's not what I wanted. That's not what I came here for. So I don't feel satisfied by this ending. I don't feel satisfied by this conclusion. And whether or not I get your message, I didn't want the message in the first place. So I just felt very unsatisfied by this movie, and because of that, all the goodwill that was built up from what came earlier just slides away for me. So that brings me to my score on this film. And I'm going to give The Little Things a 5 out of 10. This went from being something that could have been a solid, fun mystery, fun thriller, into something that just fell apart coming down to the end. You know, it just didn't work for me. So The Little Things gets a 5 out of 10. And that's going to be it for this, guys. Let me know what you thought of this movie. Did you enjoy it? Did you like what they did with the ending? I mean, I get the feeling maybe with some time, some people may change how they feel about this movie. But for now, consensus seems to be it's a dud. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to hit that thumbs up button. It's always appreciated. If you'd like to subscribe to my channel, you can of course click on my face when it pops up right about there. And you can check out past reviews if you've got the time. So until the next one, guys. Bye-bye.